And here we are. I am Tracy Warren of the Social Playground, and I am here today with Petra Meyer of Petra Meyer Consulting. But I actually really like that you're doing the Big Leap Bootcamp. So we'll talk more about that. I know, it's very exciting. I know Petra because she's a member of eWomen Network, as am I. And I'm actually excited. Petra, I already have a friend on the blog with us, Audrey Godwin. She is a friend of mine that lives in the south region of Seattle, Renton.
Hi, Audrey.
So, let's talk about you. Yay!
Yeah,
okay.
well.
I love the cat picture behind your head. That just makes me kind of smile.
Yeah, there they are.
So Petra, so tell me about you and your business and kind of how you got here.
Right. Okay. Well, wow, that's a big question.
It's a big question.
So how did I get here? I mean, apart from I was born many, many years ago, we don't talk about how many, but ultimately I came to Canada in 2001. I was born and raised in Germany, but I've just did the maths the other day. I actually, between the age of 21 and 35, I moved 7 times between continents. So I've been living overseas quite a few times, and kept bouncing back to Germany and then back overseas and back to Germany. And there's many, many stories in that by itself. But in 2001, I came to Canada. At that time, I came because I had a job here, and I worked for the One World Alliance, which is the airline alliance around American Airlines and British Airways. And no, do not send me any complaint letters about lost luggage or any of that.
No. No.
So I came for that job, and ultimately I did different roles in that company, and I finished off as e-commerce manager. So that was my big introduction into the online world. I was responsible for the website, creating around the world booking tool, all kinds of different tools that we had on the website. So I worked with them, but they at one stage decided to close the office in Vancouver and move it to New York. And I don't want to upset any New Yorkers, but I decided I didn't want to live in New York. Perhaps 10, 20 years ago.
Audrey's from New York, so I love that you said that.
That's Audrey. But not everyone is.
I'm not meant to live in New York. Yeah. No, I'm a Northwest girl for sure.
If my computer would flip over, I would show you my dog, but he's actually just exited the room, and I kind of couldn't see him walking around the concrete the whole time. So Vancouver has both. I live close to downtown, but it's so green around Vancouver, and we've got so many parks, and there's the mountains and the ocean and so on. Thank you, Audrey. I'm glad I didn't upset you. So I didn't want to move to New York, and that was kind of that kick in the rear bum for me to start my own business. And as most entrepreneurs, I guess, do, we all dabble around with a lot of different things. We don't always know exactly what we want to do right away. So I started to continue in that path that I was doing. So I was helping entrepreneurs and small business owners with their website strategy. Now, I'm not a developer, so I don't actually code. I have not studied design. When I was working for the One World Alliance, I was responsible for all these projects from the marketing side. So we were managing the agencies and we're managing the project on behalf of the airlines. But I wasn't a designer. So I kept working on that strategic side for website, because a lot of business owners don't really know what they don't know when it comes to understanding how to present their business in a website so that it makes sense for what they want to achieve, but also for the customers. So I worked on that for a while, but it wasn't really making my heart sing. And I somehow got into coaching. I did my coaching certification at Simon Fraser University. And after that, I changed the aspects of my work, and I started coaching entrepreneurs in how to build their business using everything that we've got available through the internet. I mean, what you're doing here is amazing. This is, by the way, my first blab. I've never been on a blab. And so it's cool, all these different opportunities we have these days of how we can present our business and how we can find clients and how we can engage with our audience. And so I help entrepreneurs to do that. And sometimes it includes a website, but often it just includes understanding how to grow their business and how to, what I always call the freedom business, how to build a business so that you have more freedom in your life, so that you can actually spend more time, either, because you want to travel. I mean, there's different drivers. Some people want to travel, work from anywhere. Some people want to spend more time with their family. Some people just want to work less or want to work less one-on-one. So I help them to find strategies to put that in place.
So that's really interesting. I love what you just said about freedom business. What do you think keeps people from freedom in their businesses?
Well, I think partially it's mindset, partially it's us thinking, and I include myself into that totally. We need to just keep working on the day-to-day grind, and we don't take the time to take ourselves outside of that and think really strategically of where we want to get our business. Partially, I think it's risk aversion, because we're sometimes afraid of taking that step and that leap, to take that leap. And that's where the name, the Big Leap Bootcamp, came from.
So Audrey, did you just lose her face too?
I'm still here though. I see you.
I might have to kick her out and have her come again. You can see her. I can't see her.
Oh, you can't hear me. Oh, that's not good.
Dang it. Okay, Petra. Thank you.
Back?
Sorry about that. This is, Blab is in beta, which means that it's not the most perfect platform. And I know Audrey was able to see you, and I was not.
I actually see you very well. So worked fine for me.
Okay, it's just me. And I keep closing more and more things on my computer, so I'm not taking
and bandwidth. I have to say that I was just doing a session on a different system. I'm not going to mention the system because we don't want to upset Blab. And that system is just finishing the recording, and I can't stop that recording. So anyway, here we are. So that might impact it a little.
Anyway. We were talking about
freedom. Yes. So what I was saying is partially, I think it's mindset. We think that we have to stay on the tasks that seem to be screaming for our attention the most. And strategy tends to not scream for attention. Strategy is something that requires space and time. And so that's why I think we get sucked into this day-to-day grind.
I'm on video.
And
sorry.
When the house is falling down, then do move. The
house isn't falling down. Strategy does not scream for our attention. That's Audrey's takeaway.
Yeah. And so
Go ahead.
the other thing I think is risk aversion. We all are, most of us are, we want to be very in a secure place, so we don't want to risk anything. So again, that also has something to do with strategy, means that we're taking a risk, we're making a change in our path. We're strategizing. I mean, where the word strategy comes from is war theory. And, clearly that's related to risk taking. And if we're strategizing, we're thinking about what other things could we be doing that we're not doing at the moment. And that's always a risk. So I think that's another one of those reasons why we're not getting to that freedom business, because it requires us to be strategic about our business and to take some risk and make changes.
So what would you say? What would you say keeps us from taking those risks?
Fear. I mean, I think it's fear from we could fail. Fear if we're changing something, it's unproven. It's not something that we've ever done before. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Audrey is so right, because she's saying we have to stop and be really honest about what is it that we want to do with our lives. And it sometimes is something totally different than what we're doing right now.
Well, and what the word you used earlier was grind.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that we get into this mindset where we feel like we have to be grinding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or we're not. Right. Like, no, we can really enjoy what we're doing and get paid for it. So tell me about this transition and the Big Leap Bootcamp.
Yeah.
So how did that all come to pass?
So the transition was that I fell onto my face a few times, as most of us do, I guess. So I've always wanted to do group work. That was always my intention. I'd never really wanted to do a lot of the one-on-one coaching. I wanted to go right into groups, and I wanted to go into creating programs. That was really important for me. And what I had to realize is, so I created my very first program, and got a few people even to sign up for that. And I think they were all way too polite to tell me that it was really not that good. And so, but I realized it myself. And then when I did that, so I'm thinking like, okay, let's do another one. So I've created a second group program, and I think the same thing happened the second time. That's when I thought like, oh dear, so perhaps I don't know yet how to do this. And I put a lot of investment into my business growth, and into, I joined communities down in the States. I hired a mentor. I worked with a coach. I did a lot of things. I followed a number of programs. And through all this work, which I don't even want to ever put the balance on how much money I spent on all this, I actually learned how to create programs, and I absolutely love it. It's like the writers that can't stop writing books. I love creating programs. That creative process, it gets both of my, like, I'm like extreme right brain and extreme left brain. I'm very creative, but I'm really very structured. So I'm this weird combination of having these abilities to be really creative, but also really following and creating a structured process that helps people to go through a processed training seminar where they can really get a lot of the information and apply it to their own business. So I've created my first program. Once I had my training completed, I created my first program last year, and then went into creating what I wanted to create, the Big Leap Bootcamp, which is a training program to help entrepreneurs to build self-study courses and group programs for their business. And I remember I was actually working with a local coach. You like her and do know her. It's Michaela. I was working with Michaela on this session. And Michaela and I, we did a session where we really focused on me defining. And sometimes, I help my clients with this, but it's really good when you have somebody else help you with this, even if you help your clients on this work. So I worked with her, and we worked on defining my audience types for the program. And I was working on this whiteboard, and we were then going into the naming. And so we were working on the components that were supposed to be in it. And I started drafting, and then I was lining out all the things that definitely had to be in there. And then I looked at it and I said, that looks like a boot. It's going to be a boot camp. So that's where the boot camp sound came from. It was really because of everything I had on my whiteboard. What I then decided to include, it was the shape of a boot once I framed it. So we had the boot camp, and we really talked about, this is for a lot of entrepreneurs, a big leap. So that's how we came up with the Big Leap Bootcamp, with the name of the program. And I ran it the first time over the last 4 months. It's just actually completed. And I'm just in the process of filling my next program, which starts in July. So very soon. So it's all cool.
So what did your participants, like, what is their kind of big takeaway from your boot
So
camp?
as part of...
Because is it centered around
No,
the book?
it's actually not. The interesting thing about the Big Leap, the book, was that one of my clients in the boot camp told me about the book, which I then purchased. It just hit me that the image that is on the cover of the book is the same image I am using in my PowerPoint presentations that I use for the Big Leap Bootcamp. We chose the same image.
The fish,
and
right?
Totally unrelated. I did not know the book before. The fish that's jumping, yes. So I kind of read the book, and I love the book because it's really about, this whole concept of that we are upper limiting ourselves. It's exactly what we were talking about before. We stay in the grind. We keep ourselves small. We're not taking a risk. We're not taking the time to create strategies to get to a place that we actually really want to be at. So I totally resonated with the book, and that's why I have 5 copies here in my bookcase, because when I go and I do an event, like I did when I came to eWomen, and I do a raffle, then it's that book that I'm passing on, because I feel that book has opened my mind to areas where I'm upper limiting myself. So I want to keep reminding myself, and I want to keep reminding other entrepreneurs out there that they're also upper limiting themselves, and to kind of just open our senses to being aware of that and recognizing, oh, this could be an area where I'm upper limiting myself, and how could I look at this differently?
So for those of you who don't know, or for those listening who don't know, how would you describe upper limiting?
So it's upper limiting is when you are putting a belief in the way that you cannot achieve something that you want to achieve. So it starts typically with a belief, and then a belief is followed with your thoughts and your actions. So let's say I believe that, okay, here is a typical way where I'm upper limiting myself. I don't like speaking in front of groups. I'm really not comfortable with that, particularly being kind of the thought of being on a stage and speaking in front of perhaps 100 people gives me the creeps. Really don't like it. I know that typically once I am on a stage, I don't come across like that. People think, oh, she's so calm. But, inside, so much.
No, you don't.
So I have a lot of that going on in there, but I don't necessarily show it out here. But it's really something like I have no problem talking on this, or I do a lot of online stuff where I talk with a computer. A lot of people freak out. Just the thought of speaking into a computer screen and being available on the internet to many, many people freaks a lot of people out. That's where they upper limit themselves. I upper limit myself that I am presently not seeking large stage time. So I am kind of working myself slowly towards that. So I know if I were perhaps able to stand confidently on a large stage and make an offer confidently, that I could help a lot of people in their business. But I'm upper limiting myself. Does that kind of make sense and resonate? You find a way where you think you might be upper limiting yourself?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and we all have different things. It might be,
I have all sorts of ways, I'm sure.
It could be anything. If we are looking for a job and we have that perfect job in our mind, but we don't dare calling that company to get an information interview. If we, ultimately we think that we cannot afford to put money into our self-development, because we have to be busy finding a client. So we're never going to reach another level in our business where we can actually find clients who are paying us more money, because we never invest in that part. So that's another area where I see a lot of people upper limiting themselves. They want to do something about their business and about building their business and self-development, but they are not allowing themselves to step into that. They're not investing in themselves. And so they're not opening themselves up to new perspectives and new horizons. So that's definitely, I think, that's an area where a lot of entrepreneurs are really upper limiting themselves. Now, according to the book, it goes beyond that. So that's a little hard for me to imagine. So when we're upper limiting ourselves, we're actually, what he's saying in the book is that if you get sick or you fall and break an ankle or something like that, it's another form of upper limiting yourself. So it happens often to people where something really good is happening, they're making a lot of progress, and then suddenly, you know, they have this series of incidents that stop them from continuing on that path. And what he's saying is that's another way of upper limiting ourselves.
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
How else do other than your boot camp, how else do people engage with you? How else do they work with you?
Yeah, so I have a number of courses. So the bootcamp is a course where I take clients from the initial idea of what course they might be creating all the way to launching the course. So it's a 4-month period. So it takes them through a 5-step process. I start with strategy. Then we go into planning the course, which is a really important part of that process, to be really clear about what course we're creating and planning it in detail. Then the creation of the course, which happens to be mostly creating videos, audios, and documentation. Then finding out what's the best platform where to host the course, and that depends on the strategy. And then basically uploading your course into that platform, and then launching the course, which is all the marketing of it. And it could include pre-sale. So some courses you can pre-sell before you actually build the course. But some courses that are like an evergreen type course, you have to create the course before you can start selling it. So that's one way. Some of my clients actually, I call them the visionaries. The visionaries have really large ideas and they're ready to go. And they do not like waiting, and they do not like compromising in a group environment. So what they want is private work. They want big spurts. So they might do a VIP day, for example, where they work on a project for that VIP day. Then they disappear, and then 3 months later they pop up and have that next thing. So I do work with clients one-on-one as part of a VIP day or of a longer-term coaching program as well. And that longer term could be up to a year. And then typically my courses are included in those type of coaching relationships, because the courses have a lot of material, training material that will help them. So if I, for example, had somebody join me for a 1-year contract, and ultimately what they want to do is bring their business online, then they will be taking part in one of the Big Leap Bootcamps as part of that. They will also have access to my self-study courses. I have a self-study course on getting clarity for your niche, as you say, and another one to get really clear about how to generate leads, lead magnet generation, and then I have another one for website.
Okay, that's a lot.
We should all say what?
We should all say niche.
Yeah. So I've got a bunch of. We should, but you know, there is some people who don't like it, so I'm saying it both ways.
No. And I say niche is rich, and niche doesn't rhyme with rich. So niche is rich and broad is broke.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
But niche is riche just doesn't seem to work quite as well.
That is a very good way of saying
Americans speak lazy English, and Canadians speak
I love
proper
Audrey's comments.
Yes, she's pretty fabulous. Shoot, I had a question. So what are your favorite business books that you recommend to entrepreneurs?
Oh dear, oh dear. Oh God, you should have prompted me on that one. So
I should have. We started talking about the Big Leap, and it was just, I wrote books.
You wrote books, yeah. So Big Leap Bootcamp. So the Big Leap is definitely one of them. Now, a book that I always think back on, which I read God knows how many years ago, but I find is still very relevant, is First Things First. And it's a book by Stephen Covey. And I read that book before I read The 7 Habits of Highly Efficient People, I think it's called. And I liked First Things First better, but perhaps because I read it first. But it really is all about really thinking about, you know, when we are prioritizing our work, what are the first things? What are the most important things? What are the big things? So if you were to take a glass of water and you filled it with, let's say, sand, you have sand, you have gravel, you have smaller rocks and big rocks, and you fill it with the sand, you're never ever going to get the big rocks in there. However, if you put in big rocks first, you can always fit in some sand around it. So we need to really start thinking about the big things that really make a shift in our business. And those are the things. Yes, sand is busy work. Audrey it's exactly right. That's the grind. That's exactly what's keeping us. You know, email is probably the biggest sand, because it's more than sand. It's just that sand that's, you know, sucks us in, that where we disappear in it, because it never ends. With email, it never ends, but we're not doing the bigger project. So when we're looking at our week, we should be reserving time to do the projects that will make a difference in our business in the mid to longer term future. Because if we never make that time for it, we will always be stuck in the place that we're at now. So that certainly was a big book that I really enjoyed, and I can still recommend. Presently, I am reading more books that are more self-development type books, like The Big Leap was one of them. I'm right now reading the book, I think it's the Life of the Shadow Chaser or something. I'm never good in book titles. I really enjoy the book, but I'm not good in the book titles or the authors. Like, you can never ask me about singers and actors. I'm just like, there's no brain space in my head for that. I'm not good with names, particularly not people that will never pop by my door and say hello. So, like in that regard, I don't need to remember them. So I'm not good at that. So, but yeah, there are certainly books that are helping me to just remember to think about what's really important. So prioritization is a really big thing for me when I look at what am I doing in my day? Like, how do I prioritize my work? Yeah. And I know, for example, if I look back at my Big Leap Bootcamp I've just completed, I had one of my clients in there. She really prioritized this work. She came to all my calls. Like, I offer a lot of calls and a lot of access to me as part of the Big Leap Bootcamp. She came to all the calls with the exception of one when she was in Paris. She came when I do my VIP days as part of the bootcamp. She came to all of them, and she was probably the one who they have in the VIP day. They have a session in the morning together, and then they take their assignment and work on their assignment. But during the time that they do their assignment, I'm available to them, so they can just pop back online, and I'm there. And she probably was the one who contacted me the most, and she is the one who was, before the bootcamp was finished, she was able to start selling her course. So It really shows when you prioritize the work, that's really where you make the greatest impact in your business. And so prioritization has always been something that's been really important to me. And I think that's why I relate to these books.
So how do you prioritize your day to make sure you get the big rocks in there?
Well,
what tips would you offer?
Yeah. So I work with a number of tools, depending if I'm working on a bigger project, like when I was working on creating the Big Leap Bootcamp, there was a lot of hours that went into that. I use something like I call it a self-accountability tool. I believe accountability partners are great, but we can be our own accountability partner. So I used a self-accountability tool that I developed myself, which is basically one sheet of paper per week, where I have an overall objective of what I want to create by a certain date. And so let's say, I'll give you a very specific example. At one stage, I had booked with a video studio, to do a bunch of videos that would be sales-related videos and promoting my programs. So I had a certain date in the calendar when that would happen. It was across the country, so I had to travel for it. I wanted to look my best. I wanted to be really clear about what is it that I'm promoting and how am I promoting it. So I wanted to have a clarity about the services that I will offer and how I'm going to speak about those values. I did get it as a bonus, so there was 6 videos included. So I needed to obviously have 6 video scripts. I needed to get the right outfits. I needed to create some of the pages where those videos would be hosted. So I created kind of my project and decided those are all the things that I need to do. And then I did a weekly plan. And every week I would give myself a goal in order to achieve that I have all this in place by the time I'm flying across the country to go to that video studio. And I make the most out of my investment there. So I went on a diet, I went shopping to get my clothing done, I kind of worked on my strategy for my projects, I wrote my scripts, I did a session with the video director to go through the scripts. He scrapped half of it out, I redid the scripts, I tested and trained the scripts. I mean, I did all those things. It was a project I gave myself so that when I showed up, that I was able to do 6 videos in the time that they normally only do 3. And I would have not, I mean, it creeped me out because being in front of professional video is just as bad as being on a stage for me. So it was really, it was a big thing for me. But I gave myself that as a project. Or the same thing, if I create a course, I give myself that as a project. I give myself timelines and milestones that I want to achieve by a certain date. So if I want to achieve, you know, I want to have my plan in place for the program, I create storyboards, etc. I give myself a date by which I want to have that done. Now that's, I'm not sure if we're now gone off the air. Can you speak to me, Tracy? I suspect we lost Tracy. I'm not exactly sure if we're still on the air and if I should keep talking. Oh, can you hear me? Oh, you're there. Okay, we just can't see you. Okay, we keep talking then. So the other thing that I use is I am very diligent about the use of my calendar. So I block time for my clients in my calendar, and I block time that I work on specific projects on my calendar. And so those are the big rocks. And then the times in between, that's where the sand comes in. So that's where I check my emails or follow up on some other calls. And so that's kind of how I lay out my work throughout the whole week. And that's been working for me well. And I use color coding in my calendar. So for example, when I look at my calendar, it's multicolored, but I can see the times that I spend with my certain clients, or if I have consultations, or for example, if I have a video interview like this one now, then I block that as well. So yeah, Tracy, I do teach this to my clients. I actually, as part of the Big Leap Bootcamp, I include that because project management is really important in the Big Leap Bootcamp to be able to manage that project. That project does come with overwhelm at one stage. I mean, everybody is going to be overwhelmed at one stage. And so that definitely, oh, you're back. I see you again. Good to see you, Tracy. So that I teach. And then the other thing I do is I teach that also clients that come to me in one-on-one, and that's an area where
you're talking about all of this, and yeah. I'm amazed. I don't think that, well, I do know that I am not this self-disciplined. And so I'm inspired to hear you talk about how you outline it. And I know that right now it's not a strength of mine, but going forward, I'm working with a coach and trying to be more strategic about my time and, blocking out CEO time as an example. Thank you, Audrey. Up until now, this hasn't been my strength. Audrey and I were just at this seminar, and up until now were some words that they used. And so it's really inspiring.
Yeah, and I'm in the process of manifesting.
And I've heard entrepreneurs talk about how we lie to ourselves more than we lie to other people. Do you find that? Like, it's this whole idea, I hold myself accountable when we know we're not. Yeah.
I mean, we can always all do better. I can certainly do better. I'm really good when I give myself a project. I'm much better if it's project specific than if it's the day-to-day stuff. So my day-to-day, my calendar is so full. I work on contract. So my contract clients are in there, and then there is my coaching clients that I work with. Then there's my Big Leap Bootcamp hours in there. So that's kind of blocked. And then I work everything around it. There's people that are really good about when they check their email twice a day. And they say, I check my email this time, and in between I don't. I couldn't do that because my stuff moves all over the place. So sometimes I'm working over lunch with a client, and sometimes over lunch I'm free. So I check the email whenever I can get to it. But I know that, for example, an empty email inbox would be highly desirable for me, and I'm not getting there at the moment. So sometimes I'm brutal, and I just throw out a whole bunch of stuff without even looking at it. No, that's not typically my email. It's more the social media notifications, or what ends up in my promotions folder. I scan it and then I delete it, which hurts me because I know that I don't want to be deleted, and I end up being in promotions folders. So, but on the other hand, you can only do that much. So one of the things, for example, which I would recommend if you battle with email a lot, is what I've just done is I've created a separate email account, which is not like I normally use Gmail. That's an Outlook account. And I've redirected most of the promotions, people that I follow, because I want to know what they're doing and what they're up to, into that account. So it's not in my face all the time. And when I do go into that account, I can scan, I can see who is out there, but I'm not expecting any of my emails that I must read ever in there. So I can scan what's going on. I can pick a certain campaign that I might want to follow and watch it and see it or engage in it if I wanted to. But it helped me to kind of de-stress my email inbox a little bit.
Yeah.
Still not enough.
Email is one of those things I tend to, like, I clean out my email in the evening when we're watching baseball. Like, it's a brainless activity where I go clean stuff out. I do feel like my email are mating and replicating while it just sits there. Because every time I feel like every unsubscribing to like 5 things, and then what it is it's people sometimes who haven't sent an email in months. And then all of a sudden I'm getting an email from them. I'm like, wait a minute. It's almost like I'm manifesting it right here. Come, I'm clearing space just to get your message. I was going to say crappy message, but
I know. Yeah. And I mean, and it's not a bad thing for us to watch what's going on in the email space, particularly if you are an online business entrepreneur, because we need to see what else is going on, and there is changes in how people are presenting themselves, and we can learn from that. But on the other hand, there's a danger of being sucked into this. And then, it's not just an email. Then you get to the page and then you see 5 videos and then there's a webinar. And then, in the meantime, you've spent 3 hours on this. And how did that 3 hour really help you? So I really am trying to, like my coach, he talks about needle movers. So he said to me, what are your needle movers? What is actually really making your needle move up? So it's a really good one to kind of as a little self-control item when you are torn, should I do this? Think about it. Is this
so
going
good
to move your needle?
Yeah, that's really good.
Then go for it.
It's sort of like, needle movers sound so much better than income producing activity, although it can be the same thing, but I like needle movers. That's a really great way to look at how you schedule your time.
And the needle mover can be, and it can be a training. So being a needle mover, it could be that you follow a specific promotion, because ultimately you're learning from that promotion. You take that learning, put it into your own business, and you will be more successful with future promotions. It can be a needle mover, but there's many of these things are out there that are not needle movers, and they're never going to get us anywhere. So trying to cut that part out and really go for the stuff where I feel either I can serve my clients, I can learn in order to serve my clients better in the future, or I can build my business in other ways. That's what I'm trying to focus on. And I'm trying to do less of the other stuff. So filling more bigger rocks, it will mean that some of the sand will overflow.
Who are your ideal clients? Like what would somebody say for me to say, oh, I know, you need to talk to Petra? That was maybe two questions.
Yeah. So my ideal clients the ideal clients are typically coaches, consultants, or counselors, therapists. They could be nutritionists. They're service professionals who are presently predominantly working one-on-one, who might have a workshop, but often they're predominantly working one-on-one. They often have a fear of technology and resistance to technology, because if they have that, then they will appreciate the amount of support they get in my programs. There's other programs where you don't get as much support. You do more self-study and then you're implementing yourself. But those programs are predominantly for people who really are saying, okay, here's something new. Let me go and learn it. They're just not fearful of that. But if they're fearful of technology and they are looking for somebody who really kind of takes them by the hand through this whole process of building their business and leveraging their business, they will enjoy the type of work that I do, which is very hands-on, very a lot of access to me and a lot of support from me through the Big Leap Bootcamp or through my coaching programs. And so most of them are, they have been successful in doing the one-on-one work, but they really see that the next step for them is to leverage, to work with groups and to work online. And it's typically driven by a desire. They want more freedom in their life. So they want more time. Some of my clients, they want to travel and work from abroad. So they might want to go to Europe. Thanks, Audrey, for being here. They want to go to Europe and work from Europe. Or they have their children that they want to look after, or they have elderly parents, or they are maybe even pre-retirement. And they're looking for creating something in their business that can help them throughout retirement without having to continue doing a lot of one-on-one work, which they can scale up and down as they like, but that will continue to provide them with income.
The second part of my question was, what might they be saying? What might they be complaining about?
Yeah, so they might be saying, complaining about being stressed out about the one-on-one work, feeling that's a constant grind, really being tired of that. They love kind of what they're doing, like the service that they can provide. It's not like they want to give that up, but they are getting tired and feeling the burnout from the one-on-one work. Or they are the ones who are saying, gosh, I wish I could go and live in Europe for 3 months and work from there and still do my work. Or I wish I could spend more time with my kids now that I have children, and I would need to work more from home rather than, do all this work where I'm seeing clients and they want to work more from home. So I tend to have 3 personas for my business, for my Big Leap Bootcamp. It's the teacher, the expert,
Nice.
and the freedom seeker. And those are my perfect personas. So I think these labels are very clear. The teacher loves teaching their stuff, but they want to get to people, and they don't want to constantly create in-person workshops. They're tired of doing that. And the expert is somebody who's really an expert in a certain area, and they want to bring that across more people. And they are restricted by only working in the one-on-one environment. And the freedom seeker is the person who feels tempted to go and work and live overseas and see the world and still be able to run their business.
That's one of the things I love about Vancouver is the international melting pot that it is. Because I mean, heck, I come to E-Women Network Vancouver, and you've got people from all over the place, right? And I love that. We have the international thing here, but it's not that they just moved from Germany or Hungary or France or, I mean, so I love that.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
And you just never know what language people are going to be speaking when you go to Vancouver. Yeah, I love that. I love that.
No, that's true. Yeah. I think in Vancouver, more than half of Vancouverites speak at home a language different to English.
More than half.
More than half, I think.
So
I think
where are your clients? Do you have clients all over? Are you fairly local?
Yeah, I mean, I have had clients from Australia. I work with clients in the United States. I work with local clients. Presently, the majority is still local because the majority of my clients comes through my E-Women chapter. But now that I am also reaching out to see other E-Women chapters, I'm also seeing, for example, in the next Big Leap Bootcamp, I have one client who is from Victoria who's signed up. And so that excites me. I love having people from different areas. In the last one, I had one woman, she is from San Jose, California, and she came up for the workshop. And that's the good thing about the way I've structured the bootcamp is that I have just the one in-person workshop, but it's 3 days. And then the rest of it is all online. And with my coaching, same thing. I can have coaching clients, like one of my coaching clients lived in Australia. And so can be anywhere.
Gives you freedom. Really. Yes, exactly.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
I am looking at my notes and other things we've talked about, and I think I don't have any other questions to ask you. You are such an easy person to interview because you have great, thorough, well thought out answers, and even though they're on the spot, so I appreciate that so much. Thank you so much for your time today. I just really enjoyed chatting with you, and I know we've chatted before, and we will chat again. I am absolutely certain. So
yes, we will. Yes, and thank you so much for having me, Tracy.
Yeah.
This was really cool. This was a lot of fun, and it was great to have Audrey here and having seen her comments in here. So that was really cool. I really enjoyed that. Thank you
so much, and I will talk to you soon. Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, thanks so much. All the best. Bye-bye.